Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Keep Up with Pryme. Today, we're putting the focus on the construction industry. In case we have not met before, I'm Laura Andradas, Marketing Lead at Pryme Global, and together with Aske Holst, Product Manager at Pryme Global, we'll walk you through our newest capabilities for teams across the construction industry. Should you have any questions, please use the chat or the Q&A section, and we will address those at the end of the session. And now, over to you, Aske. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. So let's look at what we have done. In this February release, we are covering a number of new features. Some of them have been released during December and January, but we will cover them in this session anyway. I have, as usual, split this up into sections as we progress through the life cycle of a project. So setting up, planning, work, and invoicing and work in progress. Let's start up with the first part, which is more setup related. We have some new features related to project creation. This is more of a technical feature, but can be good to know about. This is something that can be found in Progressive Feature Management. And Progressive Feature Management is a place where you can enable new features mandatory. Not all of these features will become mandatory, but it is the place to have a look at. And one of the new features we have is a common code base for project creation. This affects how projects are created, if they are imported, if they are created through the quick guide or the project wizard. It is not a functional change, it is more of an architectural change, but it does affect the logic, especially if there are customizations added. We will make this mandatory in the future. This will make maintenance and further development a lot easier. I would recommend to test this out in a sandbox environment already now to make sure that you're ready for the upcoming changes when they will become mandatory. Next up on the list, we have some changes in the work planning area. The work planning is, of course, the new app that we released last year called Project Work, which allows you to work with work items, plan out the work for different employees, track the progress of those work items. And we've added a new work item calendar. So if I open up one of my projects, we could open up my construction project in here. I do have a number of tasks, and on some of these I have different work items created. So these are sub pieces of work that we create to be performed by an individual. In the past, we had the Kanban board that allowed you to look at the work items in a Kanban view with cards that you can move around. And now we have also added a calendar view for this. The calendar view, of course, focuses entirely on the timeline of things. And this is the plan for this project. These are the different tasks that or work items that will be done by different individuals. We can look at it either as a monthly plan. It could be a timeline view, and we can group that by individuals as well. So we can see that Connie will be doing the rough-in, and then later Claire will do a panel inspection, etc. So makes it a little bit easier. We also allow you to change the date simply by dragging, and so you can move things, either the due date or the start date. You can also open up the work items from within here and make changes to them directly. And this, of course, both includes the main details, but also making something on the checklist, marking that as completed or changing the description. While we're in here, one of the new features we have added is notifications. We can send out notifications on work items that should have been started that are not started. We can send out notifications when work items are due to be completed but have not been completed, and we can send out notifications when work items have a new assignee. This is controlled within the Pryme Project Work setup. where there are settings to allow notifications for assignments, for overdue start, and for overdue completion. So if we enable this and change the assignment on this one from Claire to Prakash, then there should be a notification sent to Prakash. Now, I happen to be Prakash, and so I should get an email any minute now. There can be a slight delay, and there I have it, and comes here. And so I get an email, say, assigned to you, inspect panel, and I also get some details on that work item, so I know what it is about. So trying to make it a little bit easier to track what work you are assigned to. Lastly, we have a new feature where when you create new projects and use a template for that, within that project template, we can now define a default work project process. So there is a field here for the default work process. So all the projects I create on the template will have this work process. That should also make it a little bit easier. Next up, within the area of reporting, we have now an integration to cash flow forecasts. Cash flow forecast is a feature that existed in Business Central for a very long time. And within the cash flow forecast, you can, of course, create different forecasts based on different data. I have a default cash flow forecast in here. In order to get data into that cash flow forecast, you need to run the cash flow worksheet. And here you can base the data on different kinds of entries. This can be, of course, liquid funds, receivables, sales orders, payables, purchase orders. This is part of the standard BC package. What we have added is a number of new types, so you can add from project budgets or subscription orders, scheduled billings, or directly project ledger entries. This allows you to create a more comprehensive cash flow forecast where you also include whatever cost and income you will have related directly to projects. One thing I will mention is that some of these could potentially overlap. You could have budgeted for something and also have it in another kind of entry. So if you have budgeted for, let's say, scheduled billings, but you also have the scheduled billings, then you might see an overlap if you include both. So be careful, don't include anything, just everything. Look at what kind of forecast you're doing. Is it a budgeted forecast? Is it based on actual entries, etc.? But you simply click what you want to include. And of course, you should select what forecast it goes into. And then it will suggest the entries, in this case, the expected income for this project. And of course, you will then register and it will go to the cash flow. So that is the new cash flow forecast integration. In the work area, we have a small piece of additional functionality. This is related to the new reopening and worksheet features that we introduced back in November. And this allows you to separate out time that is on reopened timesheets. So we already had columns in here for hours in open timesheets, and I was waiting for approval, hours in open project journals and time journals. Now we've added a column for hours in reopened timesheets. The reason for this is that sheet and it has already been approved, then that time will be included in your actuals. Whenever you reopen it now, we do not reverse the actuals immediately. We only adjust them when you have approved the resubmitted timesheet. And so it might be needed to see what is open in reopen hours if you want to do a more direct and correct forecast. This column is not shown by default. You will have to add it in by personalization. In journals, we have made more of a UI change to make it a little bit easier to work with journals. And so if we open up a time journal, as an example, the fields for project and task, etc., they are now drop-down fields, meaning you can search for something and you can write part of the text and it will suggest that, and you can simply just tap through just like you can in a lot of other fields. In the past, it was a lookup that opened a new window. This should be a lot easier and make working with journals a lot faster. In the purchase area, we have two new features. One is purchase order matching. This is related to our AP Automation app. So it is only if you have the AP Automation app, you get this. This is purchase order matching. So if you have a purchase invoice coming in and it is backed by a purchase order that has been received, then you can do purchase order matching. There is a new button in here for match to order. And if you select that, if there is an order receipt that matches this invoice line, then it will automatically connect that up. And so that tracks one-to-one. It is a quite conservative match. It doesn't do fuzzy matching. So if the quantity doesn't exactly match, for instance, then it won't do a match. In the future, there might be more features around matching, doing a bit more of a fuzzy matching and asking you, do you want to do this match? Which match is best? But at the moment, it is a conservative match. The other option is retention on purchase invoices. So this is something that we've been asked about a number of times. You have always been able to have retention on purchases if they were created from subcontracts. But if you're not using the subcontract functionality, you can now do this manually. If I have an invoice here and I'm not going to pay it full, I will retain part of the payment until I know I'm satisfied with the delivery. I can enter a retention percentage in here, let's say 10%, and then I can go in on the prepare menu and select calculate retention. This will calculate a retention line. In this case, this is 10% of the original line. Of course, if there are multiple lines, this could be an aggregated line as well. And so we will reduce the amount that we pay out. This is similar to the retention functionality that already exists on the sales invoice. In the area of invoicing and work in progress, we have a new feature related to budgeting and specifically to budget completion. When calculating WIP for fixed price projects, it is usually based on the percent complete, and the percent complete is often the budget completion, either the budget completion as percentage of cost or quantity. Previously, we did not include purchases that were received but not invoiced. We only included purchases that were fully invoiced. But as it makes more sense in most cases to include the purchases that have been received as work being performed, then we now include that as well, which might give you a higher completion percentage, but also a more accurate completion percentage. In the area of contracts, we have introduced split invoicing. So if I have a contract here for a number of projects that I will do together, I can go in and I can set up a split billing for this. And I can define that this contract will be paid by multiple customers. So I could say in here that Alpine Ski House will pay 30% and Relic Cloud will pay 70%, for instance. The split billing functionality has existed on projects for a long time. We are now expanding that scope to also cover contracts. And so if I go back to my contract here and raise an invoice for it, we should not see only one invoice, but we should see two invoices, one for each of those customers. Of course, there could be more than two. There could be as many as you want, as long as it adds up to 100% in total. And this is what we see here, one of the invoices. And we can also see that the total amount is a percentage of the total. Maybe that actually made. So you can do that split billing, and it seems like I made a mistake here, but this is the way it should work. Related to split billing, we now also have split billing or split invoicing on progress billings. So we're really rolling out this splitting feature to many places. So going back to my project here with construction, I have a progress billing placed in here where we are billing for, in this case, a floor of the project. This is for a certain amount. We have done a certain completion. We have an approval for this application from the customer, and we would now like to raise an invoice. But in this case, maybe there are again multiple customers that should be invoiced for this. It is a split billing situation. On the project card, we have the customer split, and again, I could select 2 customers. Let's do the Alpine Ski House, 30%, and Relay Cloud, 70%. And this again has worked in a long time for time and material billing. We are now extending it to progress billing. So if I go to my progress billing again and open this up, I should be able to raise an invoice, and this should now be 2 invoices, one 30% and one for 70%. So again, moving split billing into multiple different places. This is all we had in new features. So I'll switch gears a little bit and look at what is coming. This is our roadmap for 2026 as it looks right now. This is, of course, subject to change. New features will be added to this, and maybe there will be some things that we move either further or earlier on the timeline. There might even be some things that we decide to not do at all. So don't take this as a promise, but more as a plan for the future. It is a roadmap after all. This is for all our apps. Some of these are included in our construction industry package. These are the bolded ones. That is advanced projects, and it is Pryme Project Work. And there will be a new app added, Pryme Risk Management, for risk management. If we make this a little bit more specific to what is included in construction, making it a little bit easier to look at, this is a plan. In Q1, we have added the purchase order matching for AP Automation. This will be extended with additional functionality. In Q2, there will be new features for work planning. We will add more structures with different work item types and categories. We will make it easier to assign work by making rules for different roles, so some work items can be auto-assigned. Again, in the purchase area for AP Automation, we look at new features for Pebble e-invoices that are incoming, and also we will extend the text-to-account mapping. Then we have the new app for risk management, where we will add features for having a risk register. And in the first release, this will be for projects only. And you can create an assessment of the risk, calculate based on the impact and the likelihood, get a score, get a potential impact on the project or even on a project task specifically. When we get to the second half of the year, there will be new features in advanced projects for project budgeting. We will open up for what we call Delta budgets, where we will track changes to a budget without necessarily having to create a new budget version, but that should allow you to make changes to a budget, comment on those changes, and send those changes for approval. As it is right now, if you're making changes to a budget and you have an approval process, you will have to reapprove the entire budget, which especially for large construction budgets can be quite cumbersome. In the work planning area, we are also adding new features. It will be possible to personalize the Kanban boards even more. We will have a feature to connect up work items to work assignments, so that should enable better resource planning. And in the new risk management app, we will extend the functionality to also cover risk management on clients. And there will be a feature for some AI capabilities to identify risks based on the type of project and the tasks on that project. That is all we had on the roadmap. So with that, I will end my part of the presentation and send it back to Laura.
Thank you, Aske. And before we go, just a quick reminder in case you're interested in other industries, because we are holding more webinars during this week for legal, accounting, and nonprofit. So if you would like to attend any of those webinars, please go to our website, prymeglobal.com, and under live webinars, you'll find the registration links. And since we have no questions today, thank you very much for attending and see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.